Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Betsy, that's you?
No, this is Donna.
Okay. I forgot who's who.
That's all right. I suppose I could rename myself and
You come up with Peach Presbytery.
yeah, I do because I'm the communications director. So
All right, you're one of the other persons I haven't met yet.
yeah,
I'm Michael Pugh.
it's nice to meet you.
I'm a loudmouth.
That's all right. I'm a talks-a-lot, so we're fine.
And I'm not munching down because I just came from a women's circle study, and they gave me goodies.
Oh, well, I am also eating my snack or lunch or whatever this is. So
Like you're outside somewhere.
yes, so I am one of those people. It's great to be the communications person who lives in a digital desert. So we have 2 work from homes at our house, and then we get a whole whopping 10 megabits on a good day of CenturyLink DSL.
DSL. I just
Yeah.
left DSL.
Yeah, well, we left gigabit fiber in Savannah for 10 megabit.
In rural Virginia.
Yeah. So I am actually at the Galax Public Library, where they have splendid Wi-Fi, and I have splendid cell phone service, which is also really dicey at my house. So if I have to be on, I have to find somewhere else to be.
Yeah, a lot of deserts down here.
So, but we've got a beautiful view at the house, but no
All you see is
no technology.
No technology. Well,
Yeah. They tell us it's coming. They tell us we've got we've got some sort of fiber coming to our address on the next build out, but no one seems to know when the next build out is. So, it could be 2022, could be 2025.
Well, down here in Chatham, they've been telling us for us for at least 10 years. And that we got fiber. It went right on the man's property, went right through. Just didn't stop there.
Yeah. Well, there is fiber that runs down 58. And we're about a mile and a half off of 58. But nobody on 58 except the community health clinic is linked up on the fiber. So
In fact, last year we discovered that there were 3 fiber lines running the street because we had an interesting incident. A box truck went down the street, snagged an overhanging line, my telephone line, and took out half of the street. Took it with him down the street. And that's when we discovered that there were 3 fiber optic lines floating, going down my street. And I know one's buried underground.
So we'll see what goes, but it's encouraging. It's actually our physical house address is on the list. So it's not
That's
like it's
good.
just coming past.
Just when they get
It's-
the money to do it.
It's just when they get the money to do it. And yeah, well, out here in the middle of the county, I'll keep my mouth closed.
Yeah. Well, I gotta see what we're doing today. I gotta find my papers. Okay. That's where's my paper thing? There it is. Oh, we got
Hi, Helen.
Hello.
hello, Helen.
Hi, how are you?
Doing fine. How about you?
Hey, are we the only one?
So far. What are we talking about today? I gotta go look that up.
Wait a minute. I just had my notes out here and I can't remember.
Let's see. Don't tell me in there. Well, Robin, what are we talking about today?
I'm not sure. I just came back into the country, Michael. I have no idea.
Yeah, I heard, yeah, I know. We picked on you last week about that. Then I heard you had the unfortunate thing of joining the bunch, the rest of us, and getting COVID.
Yeah, you know, that darn plane ride from Ireland to the US, 8 hours on a plane with about two-thirds of the plane coughing and sneezing. It's like, yeah, you know, I could go all through the countries with no problem. But put me on that plane and darn.
Condensed it all together.
You know, but I feel okay. And I sound stuffy. I just got the stuffiness, but haven't had any of the aches or, you know, chills or fever or any of that kind of stuff. So I felt very fortunate.
I had that for one night.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So Michael, how long did you test positive after you
I
had
only
it?
tested once.
You
I
only,
only tested
okay,
once.
so you never bothered to try to test again?
Nah,
to
'cause
see. Okay.
Most of my friends who've gotten it says they tested and said for weeks.
Well, that's kind of what I'm reading, is that it goes on for a long time. So, yeah. But I'm assuming that the CDC knows what they're talking about, and that after 10 days, I'm definitely not contagious at all. So I'm just enjoying the back porch of my house, and thank goodness it didn't rain all this week.
Wait a minute. It rained over here, down here.
Well, it rained on Saturday. I couldn't be out here on Saturday. I mean, I'm limited to my back porch and my bedroom. So it's like, okay, I have to be one place or the other, because my son and my husband, I'm trying to keep them from getting it. So,
All right.
yeah. So anyway,
Well, you look great.
well, thank you, Helen. You know, and I figured this is a small price to pay. I had a great time in Ireland and Scotland. So it was just great.
Yeah, those are nice places to visit.
They are, you know, it's my first time going in a foreign country, and I was so excited. I was going to finally get a stamp in my passport.
Right,
Had a passport for 15 years now and no stamps in it.
right.
They don't stamp your passport anymore. It's all electronic. Yeah, you just scan it and there's nothing in my passport.
I was getting ready to ask you how you got your stamp,
Yeah, I didn't get one.
because I don't have any stamps in mine.
No. Oh, well. So now I feel very sophisticated. I know that they don't stamp your passport anymore.
Leslie got a question. And when I went to New Zealand, my wife got hers electronic. They looked at me and says, "We're gonna talk to you."
Well, that was the other option, was I could have gotten a stamp, but you had to go in a line with 50 some people, where I could just scan it through and be on my way. So yeah.
Mhm.
After what it was, it was a 10-hour flight, basically, over to Scotland. So by that point, it was morning, but it was really not morning for me. So
Right.
Real late at night for you.
yeah, it was. But you know, I did the thing and I stayed up till about 10 o'clock that night. So we didn't have much trouble adjusting there, but coming back has been was a really hard adjustment. You
Yeah.
know, we did the thing of waking up at 3 o'clock and then 4 o'clock and then 5 o'clock and then 6 o'clock, which is what our normal time is. So
Yeah, well, you were gone for what, 10 days,
I was gone for almost 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
long time.
It was, but it was great. It's the first vacation I've ever had that I did not know what day it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
it was, yeah. So it was
And
great.
you deserve that time.
Well, it was 3 years in the making. It had been canceled for 3 straight years, so it was great to go.
Well, good girl.
Yeah, yeah. How are you doing, Helen?
Me?
Yeah, you doing okay?
Yeah, so far.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Must be time to start. I heard the church bells ringing.
Just chimed 12 o'clock.
Oh, that was my clock. I'm sorry. I didn't
That's
have,
good. It is 12 o'clock. It's time for us to start.
Well, at least we'll hear them again when we need to stop. Smith, Cheney, what are we doing? What are we doing? What were we reviewing today?
Sure. What do we got? The Church Partnership Commission, right? Tim
Correct.
Steinhorst is on point and he's on Zoom. So Tim, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you, Terry, for having your clock chiming for us to let us know when to actually start. Couple of things just in getting started. I'm going to try to share my screen with the PowerPoint. However, I'm operating on a small laptop, and Smith, who has a much bigger screen and capacity and probably a little more adept at sharing screens, may take over, and we may switch over and do that. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, again, just because I'm operating, for those of you who are technologically minded, on a very small screen, I'm gonna just be able to see whoever is speaking or has their mic on and gets noisy. Just because I'm not very adept at this, I can sit here and look at y'all, but I can't totally. The last thing is that we are going to, as Smith said, talk about the Church Partnership Commission. And it is being recorded so that we can go back, and we, the transformation team, can go back and review anybody's chats and comments and stuff so that we can consider them incorporated into what we hope is a close to final, if not final, well, as Joe, I think, said in one of the listening sessions, it's never really finalized. It's a living document that will do some changes. So, and with all that being said, and we got a few people just coming in, welcome, John and George, and I forgot who the first person was coming in a little bit right on time. But let's open with prayer. Loving and gracious God, we are so thankful for all that you have done, all that you do, and all that you will you have promised to do in, through, and as Jesus the Christ, our Lord and Savior. As we seek to hear your will and hear your purpose through this document, and so that we can live out and be your agents of light and love, we ask that your Spirit give us wisdom, understanding, patience, compassion, and energy. We ask that you watch over this presbytery, its congregations, its members, its mission and ministry to a world that is very anxious and very worried. Let us be agents of your peace and grace and mercy. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. I'm gonna honestly not sure. Aha, there it is. Whoops, wrong screen. Sorry. Dave, I should have had you do this stuff since I'm very inexperienced at it. I'm going to try again. If I close out enough of these. Nope, still not it. Oh, maybe that's it. Guys, I've never done this before, so. All right. See, Smith, we may have to go ahead and have you or Dave Baker, and if you've sent it to Dave, go ahead and start doing that because I'm failing miserably. Hello, John.
Hello.
All right. Seriously, Smith, you're going to have to do this because I'm. Thank you. All right, if you go ahead and start it so that it's.
I think you can control the slides now, Kim.
All right.
You have to tell me when to change them.
Well, I'm trying to find. It says click start, and I'm still trying to click start. Whoops, went the wrong place. All right, Smith, I'm going to let you totally control the slideshow and then apologies for that. I thought I was going to be able to do this and I've got it set up, but I can't seem to get it to work on mine. So those of us who have been, go ahead, Smith, you're laughing at, who have been with at each of the listening sessions, you know that one of the big changes that we are making from the Way Forward report is to be adding in having 4 commissions instead of 3. But this was one of the original proposed commissions that the Presbytery voted on, and that we have been working to try to fine tune it and recognize that in many ways this is one of the most important commissions. Smith, if you go ahead and just start the slideshow. Because we're ready to move to the next screen, next slide. So again, here's the quick review of the table of contents. We are in section 2, how we carry out our identity and purpose, and we are under commissions. And as I said, there's now recommending to the press, going to be recommending to the presbytery 4 commissions and 2 committees rather than 3 and 3. And this is the Church Partnership Commission. Go ahead and move to the next piece. And this, again, as with the other commissions, or at least the other 2 original commissions, Church Partnership being the 3rd, that we are taking this paragraph from the original Way Forward report. And part of the key here is to encourage and facilitate and fund collaborative partnerships among the varied leaders and ministries of our presbytery, church staff, congregations, NWCs, campus ministries, other types of validated ministries. Y'all can read that here. The key here is that we are hoping that this commission will indeed foster and encourage and build collaborative partnerships so that ministry can be done. Again, as with all of the purposes, so that we can do things more, I was going to say more better. My mother-in-law would beat me about the house head and ears about that. To do that better than any one of us can do individually. So next slide. The commission will have the authority to act on behalf of the presbytery in the following manners: receiving and approving grants, merging congregations, or forming ecumenical partnerships, starting NWCs and NCDs, and then all such actions be reported to the presbytery. Anybody want to comment back up on that first thing? Again, that was all original from the Way Forward report. Okay, let's move on. Powers delegated by the presbytery. Again, it's a repeat of that second paragraph: receiving and approving NWCs, NCDs, and church partnership grants, merging congregations or forming ecumenical partnerships. A case in point would be such as when the presbytery got together with the Episcopalians and the Lutherans to come together to create Trinity Presbyterian Church down at Smith Mountain Lake. Or not Presbyterian, excuse me, Trinity Church down at Smith Mountain Lake. Starting new worshiping communities and NCDs within the bounds of the presbytery.
Kim, I got one comment about that one. It's minor. When you're introducing just the letters, I mean, until you just said it, I didn't know what an NWC was nor an NCD is. I'm not too sure I know what an NCD is.
Okay, well,
those need to be expanded out to their full words, then use the abbreviations.
Well, yeah. So if we go back up to, thank you, Smith. So if we go back up to that first opening paragraph of just describing what the Church Partnership Commission is doing, you'll note in there that it talks about new worshiping communities, and we should have put in there also new church. Well, it says in the second paragraph, new churches, meaning new church development. And then put in the parentheses NWC and NCD.
Yeah, if you do that somewhere, because I was like, what in the world are those things?
Right. Yeah, thank you for that. That's nice little copy editing that we should catch. Part of it is those of us who have worked in church development for many years at both the Presbyterian Synod level and some other areas, that we throw out those acronyms, you know.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that with working in the defense industry. You throw out all these letters.
Exactly.
Alphabet soup.
Alphabet soup. Sorry. So thank you. All right, let's go. Smith, let's move to, whoop. Whoop, there. Go back up. There you go. So we've got under responsibilities, item 1 under church development. And one of the things that we've recognized is that church development and new church development are 2 different activities. New church development and new worshiping communities are more closely related, but church development is that which revitalizes existing congregations, helps revitalize. So where we have in here design programs and strategies to revitalize existing congregations, again, it's developing those partnerships to be able to do that. We, as a presbytery, should be a voice for those who have less of a strong voice, such as smaller congregations, town and country churches, it says rural churches here, and African-American churches, so that we can help them in many ways in which they need assistance. And then to make joint recommendations with the trustees on requests from congregations regarding real property. That comes in, again, you notice the Book of Order citation there. Oop, back up a minute. I just wanted to see if there was any questions or comments. Morgan, did you have anything?
No.
Okay. Smith, go ahead and move to the next slide. Thank you. New worshiping communities. Again, we should put in there, just like we did at the very top, where you see 1 church partnership CPC, with Michael's suggestion, we'll put in there NWC. These, as many of us know, is where the emphasis at denomination level is coming in. They may, or NWCs may or may not become new congregations, new church developments. Some exist for a short period of time, some go long-term and ultimately become congregations, chartered congregations, as the old saying used to be, within the bounds of the presbytery. Again, this is drawn from the Way Forward report. Next slide. Church neighborhoods and missional communities. One of the things that we've discovered and was probably seen by the mission study team is that while we in the presbytery have in the past thought in terms of neighborhoods, we find that maybe the neighborhoods as we have them currently grouped together, the congregations grouped together into neighborhoods, may or may not actually be the most effective for the ministry or mission that these church partnerships may be doing. So we're going to continue to encourage people to work with your congregation neighbors. For example, I live in Lynchburg, but I serve 2 churches over in Buckingham County, which is in Piedmont neighborhood. And I've discovered in serving those 2 churches that neighborhood, which stretches from the James River in the north all the way down to Charlotte Courthouse, are really almost 2 different neighborhoods in terms of how they group together and whatnot. But it doesn't mean that we can't have common mission work along that eastern edge of the bounds of the presbytery. So that's why we have in here missional neighborhoods and, church neighborhoods as we currently experience them, and missional communities that will work together. Next slide. So again, we're to encourage, as I was just explaining, these non-geographical missional groupings of congregations, ministers, educators, to go forward with that. And that's something new. It's something that some people have been doing for a while. Earth Care with the current mission committee is a good example of that. but also we've got other opportunities to do mission work. And just even support each other with youth ministry and campus ministry, et cetera. Next slide. We also have under responsibilities, we're folding in a couple of previous or former committees within the bounds of the presbytery, and one of them is the Christian Education Committee. And so this item 1B5 falls under that. Again, higher education, that was under Christian education, but that would be for example, the UKirk campus ministry, as well as localized campus ministries, whether it's at Virginia Tech or the other schools, the smaller schools like Ferrum College, or I guess it's now Ferrum University, Hollins, others areas like that. Again, this is all that was previously under the Department of, the Committee of Education or Christian Education. And so we're looking to try to continue to help churches as well as others provide Christian camping opportunities or outdoor ministry. Again, just continuing with that young adult ministry, being part of that former Committee on Education. Membership and staff, the general presbyter shall act as liaison. Obviously, I should say it's obvious that while we have the general presbyter in here, that was based on a staffing model that came out of the discussion whether or not we would have an associate presbyter for, I think it was neighborhood ministry. I don't have that document right in front of me. But at this point, that is maybe subject to change depending upon how the Commission on Administration and the presbytery staff sees the staffing needs for that. Three classes of 5. I know this has been a topic of discussion in the other 2 listening sessions. In part, try to understand that we took the Way Forward report and the discussions from the presbytery when that was presented and adopted, I should say, that this would be, and you've heard the term and it gets overused a lot, bottom up. And so the idea is that these 15 people would be leaders of any and all subcommittees or committees to the commission in order to do the work. And they would not have to meet as a committee all of those committees would not have to meet as a committee of a whole, although occasionally it's probably a good idea. But that you would have the commissioners on this commission would be those who serve as leaders within that commission and be elected by the presbytery. And number 3 just repeated what I just had said earlier. The chair would be elected by the presbytery, secretary or clerk would be elected by the commission, and subcommittees would also be elected by the commission. I think there was some discussion about quorum and setting quorum. Those of you who deal with both Robert's rules and organizational development and those kinds of things know that quorum can be a hot topic. And so at this point, we said that they would be half the members. Joe, I think you fielded that question at an earlier session, and you had a suggestion that it would be half plus one or something like that.
Yeah, I think that the way it's going to end up in the draft that's submitted for final approval or for adoption is more than half,
More
which
than
would
half.
be, yes, half plus one.
Right. Meetings shall be at least every other month. We're trying to really encourage this to be an active commission, and may take place electronically. That's just the new part expression legalese, so that in light of all this changes that we've had, that the meetings can be take place electronically or hybrid, which has really been a blessing to this presbytery in many ways. Next slide, thanks. Checklist on what to include. This is more of procedures than really policies. We've again put that in as a placeholder for the commissions to develop their procedures under the new structure that would make sense for that commission to do their work on behalf of the presbytery and to report to the presbytery. So I think Pete had asked the question about whether or not this kind of thing would be as an appendix, thereby making it easier to amend. And it's something that we're at least are considering. Okay, so this was going to be a summary of at the end of the meeting, but that's okay. Are there other questions, statements? I know some people came in a little bit late.
Kim, Cheryl Peoples has a question in the chat. Am I correct? It is merge and not dissolve congregations. And I was going back to try and see where we said dissolve, and I did not see it. So Cheryl, do you want to clarify on that?
Yeah, it says that it's going to have the ability to merge congregations, but it doesn't mention anything about dissolving. And I just wanted to make sure that was not in there if we were going to be working with trustees about property issues.
Right.
Somebody else is doing dissolving congregations, correct?
Well, what at least in the conversations that I've had is that with the current church development committee, is that they're comfortable in working with congregations in seeing if they need to be merged. In terms of dissolving, as you know, Cheryl, there's so many different reasons and different situations in the dissolution of congregations that's going to take more than just simply a one commission sort of work. Does that make sense?
Oh, I'm all for that. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding it, since I am the chair of the new church development committee.
Oh, you're the one that, good, that's good. I didn't know that. So you and I've got to talk. So yeah, the merging one was sort of, they said, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, obviously you're still going to be working with Pastoral Leadership Commission as well as with the trustees, especially if it begins to involve property, unless they decide to maintain two sites. But in terms of the dissolution, again, there's so many factors in dissolving a congregation, and there's other areas of the presbytery that need to be directly involved. As I said, I mean, if it's property, trustees need to be plugged in. If it's pastoral leadership situations or needs to be handled, they need to be involved as well. So yeah, we did not.
This is Elise Wilson. I have a question whenever you get a minute.
Okay, go ahead, Elise.
You were talking about dissolving and merging congregations, do you have in place the criteria that you're using to merge?
Good question. That we do not, we as the team, transformation team, do not have any of that criteria set up yet. There's been some suggestions that have been made to develop that list or that list of criteria, but it has not been finalized. And I'm not sure 100% how we would, do we want to formally put that? Again, there's different situations and different needs of the congregations to be merged, whether or not whether we can codify that at this point in time.
This is Elise Wilson again, and I was just thinking, I know that I am among the small churches, and out of the small churches that may be merged or dissolved, maybe my church, I don't know, but I think that the members of some of these small churches might need to have some input. I know I would like to have some input on the immersion or whatever criteria you're using. I certainly would like to be a part.
Cheryl, jump in there for us, please.
I'm not merging anybody that doesn't want to be merged. I wouldn't have anything whatsoever to do with that.
Well, we're talking about merging, so where did that come? Where did it come?
There are churches that want to merge with another church. And so Jen has expertise in how to go about doing that and is willing to talk with churches about how to go about doing that if they want to. But what I was hearing you say, and I may have heard incorrectly, was our church is going to be made to merge. And that's not anywhere on anyone's radar that I know of.
No, I may have misunderstood because I came in late, but I would like to know where it originated, so that I would be better prepared to accept the merge if there is this possibility. But our church, we are having service, and we're not a large church, but we have the Holy Spirit and God with us every Sunday that we are in our service. So I was just asking so I could better prepare my brain and wrap my brain around merging and dissolving.
Yeah, Elise, I'll jump back in. It's Kim. Cheryl's right. I mean, the purpose of putting in this language of merging is not to be, again, a top-down kind of, oh, you're not doing well or you're doing well. For example, let's say, y'all are doing real well, but another church down the road is not doing as well. And so it just, we ought to just merge y'all two. No, that's not the purpose. The purpose here, as I understand, and this is coming with conversations from the original mission study team members from back 5 years ago, is to help streamline it. Let's say that there are two congregations, and I'm going to use my two congregations just as an example, although they've not been merged. They've been sharing a pastor since 1824. So they've got a little history of working together in that respect. But at some point, the smaller of these two churches, and they've already talked about this a little bit, that they would like to be prepared to merge with the larger of the two. Now we're talking, we have 12 members worshiping at the smaller church, and we have about 30 members worshiping at the larger church. So we're not talking like merging with Second Pres Roanoke kind of thing. Not that we would be doing that because it's so far away, but my example is that we wouldn't be trying to force that. And so if there are congregations that want to have that conversation about not, but of actually merging, that this commission, rather than having it to go all the way through all this process and go to the presbytery, although somebody pointed out that an administrative commission would be a way to go, that this commission would have that authority to exercise on behalf of the presbytery the capacity to do that.
So Kim, what would be the role then of administrative commissions?
Well, I think good question there, John. The role is going to be dependent upon the situation. That's why I'm saying, even like in terms of dissolving congregations, obviously to me, an administrative commission would need to be formed. Merging, Dave Baker could speak about whether or not we need to have a administrative commission to merge two congregations who are wanting to do that.
It needs approval, and I was going to say this earlier. Where that comes from is from the Book of Order. It's something that is allowed for in the Book of Order. So on the presbytery side, the presbytery, somebody needs to approve that, but how it actually gets worked out, it usually gets worked out by the two churches. So normally what will happen, and there are a few ways of doing it. Say there's a church that's smaller and declining, and there's a thriving church in town that is doing a little better, and the smaller church decides, hey, let's just join with the larger church. You can either disband the smaller church, or the two can merge and create a new entity. So depending on how that's handled, well, regardless of how it's handled, it needs to go through some sort of presbytery body. And this is one of the powers that we felt would be advisable or admissible to delegate to this commission, because by definition, how do I say that? In our heads, at least, a merge would mean two willing parties. Two parties have talked about this independently and come to the presbytery and said, we want to do this. And that's sort of like a slam dunk rubber stamp almost. Whereas if a church needs to be disbanded or declared extinct or in some fashion shut down, then that would still, that might be something that the presbytery itself would want to handle.
And that's where, John, I think the role of an administrative commission would most likely would come in, would be in the dissolution or the type of situation. But again, we'll call it a friendly merger, would be something that this commission, and Pete's right, that the commission would take the official vote on the merger on behalf of the presbytery.
This is Elise again, and I don't want to be misunderstood by thinking that we are not following the Book of Order and the information that we are using is not coming from the Book of Order, but I was just concerned when it was lifted from the Book of Order, who lifted it from the Book of Order to be discussed among the smaller congregation. And I just wanted to know when was the conversation taking place, and who was it affecting?
Well, this is something that happens. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time it happened in this presbytery, but as stated clerk in Tampa, we merged, I think I merged maybe four different congregations, something like that, in a variety of ways. It's something that happens quite commonly in presbyteries. It's not a discussion anyone had. It's just something that has happened and that we want to make provision for. We're not certainly encouraging anyone to do that. If they want to, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too.
Okay.
A lot of this, Elise, is it going to make sense? And again, this is where y'all, and again, not y'all, but anybody.
I'm glad you changed that.
Yeah. Sorry. If anybody wanted to, any two or more congregations wanted to merge, and again, I'll give you another example. in terms of sharing a pastor, for example, two congregations that remain unique among themselves, they both have sessions, et cetera, but they now share a pastor, is New Concord and Appomattox. The two churches started getting together and realized that they had a lot in common. Now they're not looking to merge, but they realized that they had enough in common that they could combine their resources to call a full-time pastor. And that happened organically from their conversations of just knowing each other within their larger community, and said, heck, this would be a great idea. Similar, but it's still, sharing a pastor is less cumbersome than less legalistic, so to speak, than merging, but it's going to come more out of conversation of two or more congregations saying, hey, this makes sense for us. How to, help us walk through this process, and this commission, the Church Partnership Commission, would be the logical place for it to reside.
And I'm not saying that it's not good for churches to merge if they cannot exist alone, but I look at our church in Danville. If we were to merge with Fifth Avenue, and that's in Roanoke, if we were to merge with Gethsemane, that's in Drake's Branch, the distance between these two churches, I don't know whether we would have the attendance
Right.
to keep to support the merge.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the reasons. And I mentioned the Black churches in particularly, not that we would not want to merge with a Caucasian church, but I'm just thinking about what I know more about.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
I'm just addressing it because I don't want it to move off the table and it's not discussed. And then a year later, we are sending in a commission to our church to merge with one of the churches. I'm just concerned.
And I hear your concern, Elise. Again, as Dave said, the intent is not to look at the presbytery and look at congregations within the presbytery and say, oh, well, Church A and Church B, Congregation A and Congregation B need to merge, so we're going to make that happen. No, there's this Church Partnership Commission. Again, let me emphasize the word partnership. That if it makes sense from the Congregation A and Congregation B's standpoint to merge, this would be the body that helps everybody walk through that process, and hopefully would be even say, does it really make sense for you two to merge?
Maybe
Are there other avenues or means to fix that or to work with that?
Maybe we can change the wording or something to say entertain requests from congregations to merge, or approve requests from congregations to merge, something like that makes it clear. Because that is a good point. It didn't occur to me that it could be interpreted in that fashion, but maybe that would clear it up.
John, you were going to concur with that?
I was going to concur and say basically this is a reactive function. If a church is interested in merging, they know who to call. Would be this committee.
We hope.
Yes,
sorry?
we do. Elise said we hope that they know who to call.
Yeah, well,
And we must not assume this, because you go to presbytery meetings and you look at the churches that are present, and we got a whole lot of churches that are not present at presbytery meetings. So how do we know that they know what's going on even with presbytery, let alone Senate or General Assembly?
but if they call the presbytery office and say, we're having a great relationship with Church B, who do I call? The presbytery office says, call this person who's chair of this committee. Is that what we're after, Kim?
That's what we're after. Exactly, John. Exactly.
That's the only time they would not be proactive in a merger. They would be reactive to the request of a church or churches, actually. You gotta have at least two to merge.
Well,
Yeah.
I would think if I could jump in here, Kim, I would think that there might be an instance where a church comes to the presbytery, and hopefully it'd be the CPC, and says, we are in trouble. We are going to have to close our doors. You know, what are our options? And perhaps then the CPC says, well, have you considered merging with another church? And they might help to facilitate that. And facilitate the communication, but it's certainly not going to be the top down, as you were saying, Kim, where Presbytery says you two churches will merge, but
Right.
it's a matter of doing whatever is best for the congregations in the presbytery.
Yeah, so I think it's part of what all I'm hearing with this. One is recognizing Elise and probably others way of seeing this stark, short, curt phrase that this commission would have the power to merge congregations, to modify the language in a way that would say that this commission is the body, the representative body of the presbytery that helps facilitate that kind of activity. That's a little bit too wordy maybe, or using too big of words, but is that, Elise and John, is that kind of what, and Pete and
Yes.
others, is that kind of what y'all are seeing?
Yeah. I think some friendlier wording would be better. Yes.
Elise? Did we lose Elise?
I think we lost her.
I was muted. I'm sorry. I think that I've been in too many meetings.
I hear you.
I think that's a better understanding when you're looking at the overall picture rather than just the committee. I think everyone will take that to heart over what was presented, because when I heard it, I was thinking, okay, here's this commission is going to come in and say, we need to merge you with so-and-so.
Right. Yeah, and that was not the intent. It was simply that the presbytery, by the Book of Order, says that they have the power to merge and dissolve congregations. And when we looked at that that we'll call presbytery authority, we thought merger should go with the Church Partnership Commission, because they're the ones that are going to be working to facilitate relationships among congregations anyway, but that our intent was not to think in terms of a directive, but rather as a facilitator.
Is the assumption that they will carry anything like that through to the presbytery and not involve, or they would be the ones who would go to the trustees when necessary?
Yes, and Pete asked the question in the chat, would they actually oversee and handle the entire merger process or just approve the act itself? As we kind of see it, that the commission would be again, I'm going to use the word facilitator or coordinator of these actions. So again, it's going to involve the congregations that want to merge. It's going to involve the Pastoral Leadership Commission, I suspect, because there's going to be some sort of pastoral leadership needs or issues that need to be addressed. It's going to involve, it can or possibly involve the property. And so therefore, but that the CPC, the Partnership Commission would be the lead representing the presbytery. And that working with the congregations that want to merge and then the other entities. Does that help any for everybody?
And the commission has the authority to approve the merger, is the way we have it currently written.
Correct.
Yeah. And report that to Presbytery.
I don't want to confuse it too much, but somewhere the trustees have to be involved in if there's a property issue. I mean, such as if two churches merge and they move into one building and leave the other one, then the trustees have to be involved in that, don't they?
Yes, and that's why I said, I mean, they depending, but John, you got to remember, for example, Rustburg Presbyterian Church working with the trustees have sold their building.
Okay.
They are meeting in that building. They're across from the county, Campbell County offices, but Campbell County now owns the building. And so should they merge with another church, I don't know which one it might be. It might be Westminster, for example, or wherever, that would not involve any property anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? So the trustees wouldn't be involved. But again, this commission, the Church Partnership Commission, would be the primary facilitator and coordinator of the whole process when two or more congregations come together and say, we want to merge.
Yeah, and being the Rustburg person.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're on there too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Jen Brothers will be working with us in planning what we should be doing in the future. And to be clear, I'm not sure we have our final signatures on the sale, but it is up to the end of we have approved it and so forth. And the presbytery has approved it. But it looks like to me that if we were doing this, what we were doing over the past year, we would probably go to this commission first and tell them we would go to the trustees as well. Is that what you're, this commission for planning strategically, the trustees for the building situation, and then look to someone like Jen to come in and move the process along. Is that correct?
As I understand, again, I'm going back to conversations I had with members of the mission study team who put together the Way Forward report. That is very similar, yes, to be precise. Yes, that y'all would come to the church partnership, because again, it's a partnership, right? Where the idea is to facilitate a partnership between the congregation and the presbytery, facilitate partnerships between multiple congregations. And when I say the presbytery, I mean other parts of the presbytery, the PLC, the trustees, whoever else needs to be at the presbytery level or at other congregational levels need to be involved, that the CPC would be hopefully that's the idea. So give them the authority to be able to be the facilitator for that.
So may I ask a question? Sounds like in some ways the Committee on Ministry and all of the things that fell under that have now been divided into these two commissions. So some of this is under church partnership and some of this is under the pastoral leadership things. So like just COM is totally gone and instead it's these two commissions who are both doing that work.
I'm not sure, Isabella, you'd say COM is totally gone. The focus of the Pastoral Leadership Commission, when you look at its description within the original Way Forward report that was given to the presbytery and approved by the presbytery, and the work that we're trying to do in rewriting the manual of operations, is that they're going to be focusing on church leadership, or pastoral leadership. So whether it's you as an associate
Mhm.
or as a commissioned pastor, that it's the leadership, the human leadership piece that COM has always done and will continue to do. So COM doesn't go away. This piece here has been by default done at the COM level.
Okay.
What the way forward report gave or suggested to the presbytery and the presbytery approved was that this expanded role of church partnership would have this authority.
Okay. Thanks.
Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I went back and I looked at the whole draft of the manual, and it did make me intrigued because the other one is focusing on leadership when it comes into the like times when churches haven't had leadership and there is a dissolve needing to happen. Well, they haven't had a leader, so then who's looking at those things becomes, I think, well, hopefully they're aware of that and they realize that and are following up with it. But if it's it just was like, oh, that might be a tricky spot, but I realize that's not what we're talking about right now. So I can leave that
Right.
question for another day.
Right. Well, and that's understandable. Again, the idea underlying, or the idea that the perspective is, again, I'm coming back to conversations I've had with members of the mission study team, and Smith Cheney, by the way, folks, was one of those members, is that this is not going to be, as we've done work in the past of the presbytery, which is very, to use a market term, siloed kind of work, where this one group, we'll talk about the Church Partnership Commission, only interacts with themselves and maybe with the presbytery as a whole, but does not interact with other commissions. The idea was that this becomes far more integrated, and relational. So just as the encouragement by the church partnership to have relationships with other congregations to do ministry and mission, they will have responsibility to encourage relationships with other members of the presbytery, other organizations within the presbytery, such as the Pastoral Leadership Commission, such as the Commission on Administration and the trustees function, such as the Black Caucus and the Presbyterian Women, and just all of these pieces that we have that we call the presbytery. Any other questions? Elise, did I help? Were we helpful, or did we just overburden everybody?
I do better understand the presentation, because at first I was a little bit confused.
Well, and yeah, again, trying to be, we all know, all of us, many of us know, the challenge of language is to, the purpose of language is to communicate, and the challenge of language is to communicate with clarity. And that doesn't always happen because of the choices of words or the syntax of the sentence or anything else. I struggle with that all the time. So you've been helpful in providing us with the thought of saying, maybe we need to be more clear in that language on this, maybe in other areas. Again, Michael earlier on brought up the point about not knowing the alphabet soup, as he called it, of NWC and NCD and all that stuff. So we need to go back through the document and help clarify some of that.
And we actually have started doing that, Kim. I've been through it and done some of that. And I did reply to Pete in the chat saying that as I understand things, the CPC will have the authority on behalf of the presbytery to approve mergers. They will then have the responsibility to shepherd the congregations through the merger process, interacting with other groups as needed. I'm hopeful that you all will agree with me on that. And I've added a note to our living document to draw that to our attention.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, and also Pete, thank you for working with in the chat to help provide some clarity, but also some suggestions. Anybody else? Again, I'm just going to tell you, it's a little joke that Joe and I share, and that is that he's looking at 3 screens, big giant screens in his computer setup, and I'm looking at one little, diagonally 13-inch screen, and so I don't quite get to see everybody.
I think this is,
Go ahead, Elise.
I wasn't sure I wasn't muted. I think this discussion is, these discussions that we are having, it's making things clearer. I just wish that we had more people listening to what's being said. So when the discussion comes up, the great discussion comes up, we'll have people better understanding what is being said.
Well, and hopefully, I mean, yes, it would make things much more streamlined when we meet on October 22nd. But at the same time, y'all who are participating in this can be recognized and speak up and say, not in a condemning kind of way at all, but in an encouraging way, say, we've talked about this and your point is really good, and that we've here's where we've made some improvements, or we brought these suggestions forward to the transformation team for their consideration in this document, and that help us with making it even better. Again, Joe said in I don't know which listening session it was, that just like anything, reality is we have a living document, and it's going to change. The procedures, some of them we've got set in place that work very, very well, and others could do have just some minor tweaking, and others could be improved greatly. And so we're hoping that this particular issue, the merger of congregations when and as needed, that we are working to improve the process by streamlining it and placing the authority to approve such in this commission, and not have to bring it every time. There'll be exceptions, but every time to the whole of the presbytery. Other comments, questions? We've actually gone 2 minutes over our
One
projected.
reminder that we're always available to be email with people who do have concerns or suggestions. So please don't hesitate to email through. You can go through the office, or Dave Baker has gotten some. They are being passed along to us, and we will be considering them. So this isn't the be all and end all. The opportunity is open until the meeting on the 22nd, week or so before that.
And I'm giving one last time. Any other questions, comments? I concur with Smith. Our emails are in the directory, church. The Presbyterian's directory, and we welcome y'all sending stuff to us. And more than happy to, if we can answer questions, we'll be able to answer them. And we'll pass these on, obviously, to the whole team. Well, not hearing any other comments or suggestions or questions, and not seeing anything else in the chat. Again, I want to thank all of y'all for coming out this afternoon for this listening session. We are listening. That's part of what we're all about, is we're wanting to hear from y'all, hear these kinds of conversations, have these kinds of conversations that we just had, and to make this document the best we can at the moment of time that which we are in. So with all that being said, I'm ready to close this with prayer. Let us pray. Heavenly and gracious God, again, we are so thankful for all that you have done for us in, through, and as Jesus the Christ. We ask your continued blessing upon our lives, upon our families, upon the work that you call us to do. Let us be faithful servants of your Son, Jesus Christ, and let us be lights to the nations and the ability and agents of love and grace and peace and mercy and hope to a world that needs those things and seeks those things. Let the work that we do here in this presbytery be one that gives you blessing and honor and praise. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all. Peace.
Thank you all.